Hello friends, welcome back to Mike Reads the World. Today we are riding leisurely through France and waving our hands at Dumas and Hugo and Proust and all of these 1, 3, 5, 10,000 page bricks of novels that I could have picked for France with my little novella Candide by Voltaire in hand. And it actually, in all seriousness, was an amazing one. And even though it wasn't my first choice for France, Madame Bovary is on my shelf, which I'll also be reading at some point. But this one has just been mentioned so many times and referenced in so many books that I've enjoyed, in critical work that I've read and listened to, and it had to be done. And reading it was like when you're working on that jigsaw puzzle and you pop in that piece that's missing, you've got every other piece around it, and it just connects a ton of dots. Even if you can't quite articulate it just feels good, it looks good, it fits into the puzzle of world literature that's kind of, or I should say maybe mosaic or tapestry that's kind of coming together in this project. And it's also, in that same vein, the first novel that comes from the 18th century in this project, and so far, actually, the only 18th century book I have. Uh, so, um, if there are any suggestions for more 18th century works, please provide those. I actually have made it kind of an extended goal that by the end of this project, I would like to try to read at least one book from every century since the 11th century through the 21st century. Get at least one book for each century, and maybe two, whatever, maybe three, but and obviously a lot more for the 20th and 19th and 21st centuries. But I digress. Let's talk about Candide by Voltaire. Uh, what do I say about Candide by Voltaire? This is a wild book. Uh, in Posthumous Memoirs of Bras Cubas, it was mentioned multiple times, and the sort of satire, but not a satire kind of thing. Like it's just this seems to me like it's possibly the first work of its kind that I would call, often many of the books that end up being my favorite books use satire and use irony and use humor, but at a surface level they seem kind of simple, or a simple adventure, or a simple mediocre life experience. But there's a lot of depth and profundity to the simplicity of the book. I mean, that to me is just the ultimate mastercraft in really any kind of art, is the ability to create something simple and yet profound at the same time. I don't know. There's probably better ways to say it than that. Candide, I don't know. Could this be called one of the first, like, fantastic novels? There's parts of it that border on science fiction and fantasy. It's very, like, I don't know. I feel like the what this book can do in 160 pages is utterly astounding to me. There's a cast of, 8 to 10 really important characters that come in and out of the book, and no more than that. It's so, and each one is so just well defined um, and drawn out. Like, each one of these characters I can just vividly picture, vividly imagine. They're all very quite different from each other. uh, I don't know if I would say like they are complex characters. Like, that doesn't even really seem to apply here. This is like a, I don't know. I don't even know, guys. Like, this book's really, it was amazing, but I just don't know right now what to even say. Like, do you want a summary? Does somebody coming to this video want a summary of this book? Let's see. Uh, Candide. He's living in a castle, kind of among the nobility. I think he's like a bastard son or something like that, like a possible illegitimate son of the royalty, something like that. And he starts messing around with the Baron and Baroness's daughter, and so the Baron throws him out of the castle. He goes to a bar, a pub, led by, after laying in the snow, kind of forlorn for a little bit. Two guys in blue kind of grab him and say, "Hey, we'll help you out. Let's go to the pub. Let's have a few drinks." They have a few drinks and they toast to the king of some neighboring kingdom, and then they slap some chains on him and drag him off to the army. And he is recruited in the army. He accidentally deserts, gets punished for it, sees some horrific scenes of war, sees the Baron and Baroness's family kind of get torn apart, and then he kind of just starts going on adventure to adventure that takes him all over Europe. It takes him to the New World, to the Americas. It takes him back to more countries in Europe, and then even takes him on to the doors of Asia, in what would be modern-day Turkey. And so it's just this sprawling novella, whatever, with so many events and things that, just read it. I don't need to talk about them. You just need to read it for yourself. You could, like, if you got this from the library or picked it up at a bookstore, I think it's worth getting a nice edition. Like this one I found. This is a nice, I don't know, it was only, it wasn't that expensive, but it's got like these, nice illustrations in it. It's the Easton Press edition, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the Oxford Library of World Great Books. So it's a bit of an older translation that I have here, but you can see some of the images I'm showing you give you a sense of just the sort of, dark and fantastical, somewhat surreal nature of the book. And I found the whole, like, the events in Paraguay and in the interior of South America to be such fascinating additions. The perspectives, like, it was a book that surprised me in the sense of just how, I suppose it is from the Age of Enlightenment, but such a jump from, like, Don Quixote of the 17th century, the 1600s, and like some of the books from the 19th century I'm reading. Like, this is really filling in that gap where you have a character who's looking at this world of religious orders and the church, and just seeing how absurd it all is, how they punish heretics, how absurd and cruel slavery is, how absurd and cruel life itself is, the wars and how bad people treat each other. And it really captures that idea of, like, humanity being in the Age of Enlightenment and on the verge of like awakening. We call it the Age of Enlightenment, but we really, like, do we really think of it as an awakening of the mind, of rational sciences, of the beginnings of ideas about, like, basic human rights and equalities that we kind of take for granted as values that we should all have today. It really, to me, captures this being a person that's watching humanity form these ideas, but totally seeing how humans are just so far from actually putting these ideas into practice. And the alternate title for Candide, of course, is Optimism. And some approaches to this book, I suppose, would be that it's a satire of the Professor Pangloss, who is a main character, and Candide's sort of first philosophical mentor, Pangloss has this idea, of course, that, everything in the world, this is the best possible of all worlds. It's almost, which is weird because it's almost like, is it an optimistic approach or is that a pragmatic approach? Is Pangloss just saying, like, well, there is no other world, and so this is the world we simply must accept as best? Or is his philosophy one of acceptance, conformity, saying, well, there's nothing we can do to change it, the world is good as it is, we must accept it this way, and that's it? I suppose that's the downside, and I feel that philosophically where it goes kind of emphasizes the point that if we as people do not act to change the world for a better place, it will not become a good place. And that idea of like being in the age of enlightenment, is humanity awakening up to a greater age of greater human rights and greater logical principles in which we can use to command the world and to make it a better place for all humans to live in. Really, I think that the unspoken philosophy behind this book is a kind of humanism, but a humanism that we have to take into our own hands, which I kind of see extended or can connect in my mind to the character of Settembrini in The Magic Mountain, in Thomas Mann's The Magic Mountain, which I'm sorry for all you people sick of me referencing that book in every other or every video, but it's just gonna happen. That's what happens when you really get obsessed with a book for a couple months. So but Voltaire's Candide, wow. Am I going to reread this? Absolutely. I would love to read other translations. I would love to be able to read it in the original French. It's funny that it is originally in French, and I'm counting it as a French novel, because very little of it actually takes place in France. The main character, Candide, and his whole, and most of the people around him are actually of German ethnicities, and when he goes to the New World and stuff, I'm not 100% certain, but it seems to me Cacambo is like part is actually like a Quechua, because at one point he translates Quechua, so like from the Peruvian and Bolivian Quechua speakers. I get the sense that Cacambo is actually from that background. I don't know if I misunderstood that, but he was obviously the go-between. And yeah, we just get this very colorful, very diverse cast of characters. You have the love interest of Candide, who I haven't said her name yet. I've been probably avoiding it subconsciously. Kunigund. That's probably not it. Kunigund. I don't know. But yeah, she's obviously a super important character, being his love interest throughout the book. And yeah, in some ways, this book is just like disaster after disaster, and or you think that Candide and the people around him things are finally going to get better, but then they fall apart. Kind of reminds me when I was younger, I didn't quite get into the series of unfortunate events, but it kind of reminds me of that a little bit, because I was getting a little bit older by the time those really got into the middle of them. But anyway, I don't know if anyone else has read those or will get that reference, but obviously Candide came first. But yeah, so this what else can I say about Candide? Too much. There's too much to say. There's too much to say about this book. And it's another one of those which is crazy, for a 150-page book, for me to be sitting here being like, oh man, if I really want to analyze this book and I really want to go into, I have to do this hour-long video scripted someday, if I ever get around to doing those kinds of videos, which I do hope to, but I'd like to get most of the way through reading the world first. I'd like to really just focus on reading and talking and sharing these books with people in this more casual format, uh, more so than spending my time editing videos right now. So everything in its own time. Everything in its own time. As I believe it, the word goes, the words go. Let us cultivate our garden, and I won't be rushing to cultivate the garden, but certainly slowly and surely. So this book, I think, what's the big takeaway? I don't know. It's tough because I personally, mentally have just struggled to be optimistic, and I'm sure many of you all have, and many people have struggled to be optimistic not only about the state of the world. Well, I've practically given up on the state of the world, but at least for my own life. But then I always get in trouble because I realize where do the two actually separate? And I guess just reducing this entire existence to my own life feels a little bit cynical, and like I'm giving up. I'm giving up on finding some other sort of ideal. So that's why I wasn't sure what to make of Candide. Is this saying just trying to show the the universe is cruel, the world is cruel, and um, if we don't make it a better place, it will it will continue to be a cruel place, and and that it's in our hands. Because I suppose Pangloss's idea of that this is the best of all possible worlds fits very nicely into a traditional religious viewpoint of the world as being created by a perfect creator, and that this is the way it should be, and that this is how it must be. But we always run into this. The problems don't go away just because we delude ourselves into thinking that this is the way the world has to be. I guess I don't know, but then this is questions of free will. I mean, it's astounding. A 150 page, such a short book, but just zeroes in, gives you just the information necessary, just the amount of characters necessary, and hits you with the big questions one after another. And yeah, I don't know. I can't really say anything else about it because this is one I'm just going to have to let kind of sit with me a while. I'm going to have to go back to it, reread it. It's almost a launching point of ideas, but and it's almost like okay, a satire of optimism seems like something that you might have heard before or done before, but there's something about Candide that says and does it in a way that no other book has for me. I can't quite explain it. This video, I feel, is a lot of saying a lot of words, and I don't know if they're meaning anything. But yeah, this one's gonna have to sit with me a bit for sure, and I hope I hope to be saying more about this book in future videos. I'm almost certain I will be connecting future works. But I do have to mention one of the funniest parts of the book, and I don't think this is too big of a spoiler, is except the fact that that our main hero, if we want to call him our hero, survives until nearly the very end. But there's a part at the very end that they meet this nobleman in Venice who has all of these books, Homer and John Milton, and there's this one chapter where it's just the entire chapter is this nobleman, this rich nobleman of Venice, just ripping on all this classic literature, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious, especially for somebody who's reading the classics and then hits Voltaire, and it's like this chapter just shreds the classics. Homer is just so irreverent, and it's a little bit delicious. And but the chapter doesn't just leave it at that. It actually philosophizes on that sort of personality and that sort of coping mechanism with the world of being satisfied with nothing and criticizing everything, kind of as being a sort of coping mechanism or form of trying to seek happiness. That was a part I just wanted to mention that I thought was just the funniest part. This book did make me laugh out loud multiple times, sometimes at how incredulous I am and at how sort of nonchalantly it describes the horrible things happening and how it all kind of just goes by in a blink of an eye. It's yeah, astounding. Voltaire's Candide. So we'll stop there. I'm gonna work on, after hearing the Iliad get ripped to shreds, I am actually pretty close to being done with the Iliad. I'm still not sure if I want to make that its own video or combine it with the Odyssey. We'll see. I've bought myself a bit of time by getting ahead and putting this video up, since I try to stick to about one a week, and I stagger my reading in a way that it's almost assured that I can do that, even sometimes skipping days reading. I really, even though it seems like I read a lot and read a ton of books probably from this channel, an average of one every 5-6 days or a week, it's it's kind of just a matter of, I don't know, just fitting it in different places, always reading multiple books at once. You read some short ones, some long ones, and it makes the task a lot more fun because you can always switch, and you can always have something that you look forward to reading, and then others maybe that are a little bit more tedious. It's all part of the process to me, and I don't know, just some thoughts there about, I guess, the reading the world process. Should I do a Q&A video one of these days? I don't know. Just throwing that out there. Maybe not. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time on Mike Reads the World. Thank you to everybody who's subscribing. A lot of new subscribers recently. I really appreciate everyone who's joining this journey, liking the videos to let me know you're getting something out of it. Comments, I love those. So thanks again, everybody who validates what I'm doing with this Reading the World project, because it's hard to find meaning out there in life. So I do appreciate that. Have a good night.